Good afternoon and welcome from a fairly sunny Anfield. We've been driving up in the rain and snow, but since we've got up here, it's all got out quite nice. No Connor this week. It's his birthday today, so if anyone wants to put happy birthday in the comments section, then I'm sure he'll get around to reading those. We've just seen the players walk through the tunnel on our screens here. We've seen Zimmerman, Kabak, Gibson and Hanley. So what that's going to mean for a formation, I'm going to pass it over to you, Pad. What are you expecting from the team news that's going to drop in about 2 minutes?
Welcome aboard, Adam. Welcome aboard, Connor. Welcome aboard, Adam. Yeah, I was going to actually I had my spiel ready for Southwell. He's only doing this to avoid bringing us some cakes for his birthday. But you stole my thunder by wishing him happy birthday. Obviously, goes without saying. If you happen to be watching this, Connor, happy birthday. Enjoy your time back in Norfolk. The sun's out, as I just said to Dave Freezer. The sun always shines on the righteous. So hopefully that is a good symbol from a Norwich perspective. It's quite a mad set of weather because we've driven on the M62 in pretty heavy snow, and here we are approximately an hour before kick-off, and the sun is out. Just cut across me as and when, Adam, when the team news drops. What am I expecting? Midfield is the interesting one for me. Does Matthijs Norman come straight back in? Other than that, barring any sort of unforeseen injuries that we're not made aware of by Dean Smith on Friday morning, I don't see too many other changes, really. Maybe there's a debate. Max Aarons comes out, Sam Barham comes in at right back. But other than that, despite the result last week, I think Dean Smith will have seen enough to go with more or less that same group again. But obviously, we'll find out imminently. But more the midfield mix. Is Norman back in? And if he is, what does that mean for McLean, Lise Malou, and Billy Gilmore?
Obviously, a certain Angus Gunn expected in goal today. Last time Norwich won here, his father was in goal. Can we expect a win today, Pad?
You've put me right on the spot there, mate. It's hard to forecast anything that isn't a Liverpool win. I think Dave himself was saying their record at home here in the last 12 months is peerless. So, we don't need to even go where these two teams are. They've played this week and last week are in the league table. They've both gone into Europe and won in the Champions League in midweek. This is the creme de la creme in terms of the Premier League. So if that is the case, and you are where Norwich are in the table, very, very hard to really justifiably suggest that Norwich could come here and get a win. But it's football. It's why we love it. Things do happen. Unpredictability is part of the DNA of English football. So we'll see. But I think the reality is it's probably going to be more about after this game and hopefully not taking too big a dent to the confidence for me.
Yeah, just a moment until the teams are dropping. I'm refreshing this page as we speak, as Connor regularly does when he does these videos. In terms of the Liverpool lineup, Ricardo, is there anyone you fear particularly in their side, especially against the Norwich players? I suppose Salah in terms of up against the fullbacks.
Well, I mean, yeah, you've took the name there that I would have put straight away. Team news is dropped, I'm led to believe.
Yep. So Norwich are playing a 4-3-3. Gunn in goal, Williams at left back, Gibson and Hanley are the central defensive partnership. Aarons retains his place at right back. The one change is that Norman is back in ahead of Lise Malou. McLean and Gilmore are slightly further advanced from Norman, and then you've got Rashica, Pookie, and Sargent. What do you make of that, Pad?
Oh, I mean, we teed it up, is the time now for Matthijs Norman. The time very much is now for Matthijs Norman. And so for me, it was, okay, he plays, you're going with a 3. I think that was always going to be the case, irrespective of what we learnt about Adam Eady yesterday. I don't think Dean Smith wants to play these teams with one less in midfield. So it was always going to be a 3. So who drops out? And it's Lise Malou. I am slightly surprised because I thought, the last few games he's... adapted to the physical elements of the game. But that said, Dean Smith, when he drilled into what Liverpool are all about, he said, well, 2 things for me stood out, that they're top of the set-piece charts in terms of goals that they score in the division, but also regains, as he's called it, in the opposition half, which basically means they're brilliant at, forcing errors high up the pitch. And then you've got Salah, whoever, Etal, Mane, Firmino, those type of characters to really punish. So he basically then said, we need to be good on the ball in our half, because if you're not against this crew, you will be punished. So you're thinking, okay, we don't need to debate the whys and wherefores, but I think it's probably accepted now that Billy Gilmore on the ball is as good as they've got in central midfield options this season. And if that's the case, and you need to be good in that area coming here today, in Dean Smith's opinion, then you can see why he's gone Gilmour. And ultimately, what he's returned to is the three he started his reign here with. The Southampton game, the Wolves game. It was Norman, it was McLean, and it was Gilmour. So now he's deemed that Norman is at a level fitness-wise he can start a game. It isn't a huge surprise that it is Lys Malou that drops out. But I think that is a little harsh on the Frenchman in terms of his recent performances. But you can see the logic. And, Max retains his place. That's a show of faith in Max. He's had a little bit of a difficult time of late, albeit against some top draw opposition. And really, he needs to come out today and just show again what an excellent player he is. And, for him particularly, my mind goes back to the last time we was here. It was 2 seasons ago. It was the opening night of that Premier League season. And I'm sure Max and Jamal, as it was there, and Todd, that day, must have been like wide-eyed. What is this all about? I've come from the Championship. I've literally just come into the first-team environment. Here I am against these superstars in this unbelievable arena. 2 years on, a lot's happened to that man. And you'd hope that today we see a maturity to his performance, because there's no doubt about it. Ultimately, him, Hanley, Gibson, Williams, gun behind them, they're going to have to be very, very good. Whatever the support they get ahead of them, ultimately, if Norwich are going to cause what would be a shock, let's be honest, their back four plus the keeper are going to have to play as good as they've played all season, individually and collectively. So, yeah, for Max, I'm sure the type of character he is, he'll be very keen to put his best foot forward today. And of course, on the other side, Brandon Williams with his Manchester United connections. We all know the enmity between United and Liverpool. I'm sure he needs no extra motivation to come here and perform well today. So, yeah, I think all in all, that 11 for me is probably as strong as Dean could have gone, really. Kabak's back on the bench. Johnny Rowe retains his place. Dowell, no Jolis. So we'll have to obviously put that to Dean after the game, why that isn't the case. But ultimately, of the available personnel, I don't think you could have really gone much stronger. And now it's up to those 11. There's plenty of experience in that group, and they'll need it today against, let's be honest, world-class opposition.
And in terms of Liverpool's lineup, obviously we knew that Jota wasn't available for this one, but Firmino also misses out, a man who often likes a goal against Norwich and hasn't actually scored, I don't think, at Anfield in over a year now. But in terms of Liverpool starting 11, it looks like a 4-3-3. You've got Alisson in goal, Gomez, Matip, Van Dijk, Shimikaz, Henderson, Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Mane, Diaz and Salah. So despite those injuries, Pad, they've still got a front three there, in excess in terms of the, finances available to them. They've got, obviously, Diaz, a man they signed for nearly £40 million in January. What do you make of that? And obviously how, have Norwich's defence got to, stand up against these front three?
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, you probably don't want to get too hung up on the names that are on that Liverpool team sheet because, like you say, Diaz, probably don't know too much about him in terms of English football, but, the fact that Liverpool have gone out and spent the money they have, he clearly has something about him, was really, really making a name for himself in Portuguese football. So it certainly doesn't weaken him hugely, albeit, Firmino, I think, is a miss because of the relationship he has with Salah and Mane. But, for me, I'm looking down at their bench and, Harvey Elliott, Andy Robertson, Thiago, Fabinho, they're all excellent players, really. So I think probably if you're Norwich, you don't really want to focus too much on what Liverpool are. We know what they will try and do, how they want to go about the task. And I think that's probably what Dean and Craig Shakespeare are focused on this week is, what's coming, can you stop it? And as I say, if they're going to get anything here, the back four and the keeper, but also now Norman, Gilmour, McLean, they need to be both good on the ball because Norwich are probably going to have a far smaller proportion of possession. And when they do get something, can they release Rashica, Sargent and Pukki? But also without it, because, at the risk of repeating myself, if this is the best team in the land at transition and forcing high turnovers, what does that tell you? It tells you they press with aggressiveness and intent collectively as a unit. And as a result, a Gilmour, for example, any slowness in his tempo or wanting too long on the ball, that's not going to end well today. So that battle within a battle is ultimately probably going to be what decides this game. If Norwich can do anything that disrupts what their Liverpool are trying to do in their strongest part of the pitch, then who knows? But ultimately, let's be honest. it would need Liverpool to come off their levels, maybe a bit of complacency, maybe in the midst of quite a congested fixture list for them. You know, they've been in Milan midweek, they've got Leeds this coming week. This next weekend, they've got the League Cup final against Man City at Wembley. It's big game after big game. They wouldn't admit it publicly, but ultimately, I think we'd all agree that Man City are over the hill in terms of the Premier League title. I think the gap is too big. So if you're Jurgen Klopp and these Liverpool players, maybe the focus isn't quite on the Premier League. Is there a window of opportunity there for Norwich? But even if that was the case, at home in front of this crowd, they'll want to perform, won't they? So it will take a performance of epic proportions, I think, for Norwich to get anything today. But really, as we all know, as Dean Smith keeps saying, these games don't define where Norwich finish this season. But what you just hope is that they don't take such a dent to the confidence and the self-belief after what happened last weekend to roll back onto what we all feel are the big games: the Southampton, Brentford, Leeds swing, Newcastle and Burnley, both to come to Carrow Road. They're ultimately looking like the games that will be make or break, not, with the greatest respect, coming to Anfield today to play arguably one of, if not, well, probably Man City aside, the best team in Europe on current form.
So before we wrap up, obviously if you head over to Dave's Twitter, he's got a stat, the last 10 games against the top four. I think Norwich have a minus 33 goal difference. With that in mind, Pad, obviously a good performance last week, but a 4-0 defeat. Score prediction for today, and you know, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's hard really to construct any debate. I mean, we saw last weekend that if Man City type teams, which Liverpool are in that bracket, if they're focused, if they're, you know, keen to come and stamp their authority, then, you know, there was times in that Man City game where you just felt, doesn't matter what Norwich do as a unit, individuals, Dean Smith and his coaching staff, it wouldn't have been good enough because they're playing against superior opposition. That's the same today. That's not trying to be defeatist. That's just the reality of it. So if Liverpool are anywhere near their levels, then it's a Liverpool win. But I would hope it's not a Liverpool win on the scale that it does inflict damage what's to come. So, you know, 3-1. There you go. I'm going to give Norwich a goal. So what about you, Adam? I'll throw that back to you to finish.
Yeah, I was here the time we lost 4-1 on the opening day of the Premier League season, and I have a feeling it might be a similar vein. I think we might score today. I want to say we'll win, obviously a good omen. No Connor here, and naturally when Connor's not available, then Norwich do win in the Premier League. So if anyone wants to cling on to something or clutch at some straws, then that's probably a good one. And hopefully 3 points for his birthday as well. So with that, we'll wrap up this video. Obviously keep it across the Pink 'Un channels, the Pink 'Un Plus app for all your live coverage of this match. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you know, Norwich can put on another good performance and, you know, at least retain some respect ahead of, you know, some more big games coming up in the Premier League in the forthcoming weeks. So thank you very much for your time, Pad, and your views. And, yeah, thank you very much. Hopefully 3 points. And, yeah, we'll see.